Hey all, Heretic here. Patch 26.6.2 is dropping today at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Is good live, good to go. We are going to dive into everything Battlegrounds. There are a lot of nerfs, a lot of buffs, a lot of big changes, and I'm excited to see what they've done. Let's see if we can fix it. Maybe the lobby won't be just all mechs. Maybe we'll actually get to see some variety now. Let's go see what's been changed. Cariel Roame has been changed in a big positive way for the lobby overall. Maybe not the Cariel players, but previously, it was give 2 friendly minions +1/+1. You got to upgrade that every time you tiered up. And the upgrade was either +2 attack, +2 health. There's also the third one, which is an additional minion. That's still there, that's still the same. But now the buff has been decreased by half. So now it's going to give 3 minions +1/+1 to start right off the bat. Now, when you're going to give additional attack or health, it's only going to give you +1 and not +2. That is a big reduction. 50% is a lot of stats. Still going to be a very good, very well producing hero. If you're looking to get some wins, Cariel, I still feel can deliver them, but not broken like they were in the previous iteration as we saw for the last week or so. Brought down to earth, basically. Mukla has been changed, but Mukla now, the change isn't going to be obvious. It's still going to happen. You just might not notice it. And when they changed it to this form, the current form is every turn you automatically get 2 bananas and everyone else in the lobby gets 1. Well, now you're going to get the same exact thing, but the percentage of getting big bananas goes down from 50% to 33%. This was, of course, a hidden thing, something you didn't actually know. You know, if you knew it, that's how it worked, that's how it worked, but there was no indicator on the tooltip that that's how this hero power functioned. And it still doesn't have that, but now you know, it's in the patch notes. You could still play Mukla, they're going to work the same. You're just going to see a lot less of those big banana turns because, hey, wasn't it fun to fight the Mukla player on turn 1 when he got 2 big bananas? So much fun. Aranna got a buff. Aranna, I still think is an interesting concept change. I preferred the old version because it was so different. Even though I didn't like playing Aranna, it was at least a very unique hero power. And now it's still unique, it's just not as interesting, but now it's after 14 friendly minions die, the first minion you buy each turn is free. That is huge. Free minions are always good, and it was 16 in the previous iteration, now it's 14, so not a big change, but still, faster minions. Getting free ones is always good, so maybe now instead of on turn 7, like turn 6 you can get your free minion. It's still essentially the same, they're just nudging the number a little bit to make sure it doesn't go too crazy and cause problems. Curator, they just recently changed. Curator's hero power was a 2/2, and then they changed it to a 1/1 with Venom, and now it is going back to being a 2/2 with Venom. Because the 1/1 was kind of useless, because in the early game, who cares? Venom doesn't really matter. The first few turns, the only thing you really want were those stats on it. So now it's back to a 2/2, because when it was a 1/1 with Venom, it was essentially useless. Curator's hero power definitely suffers at all times. The time I like it the best is in the quest meta, and really in the buddy meta. The buddy meta is great with Curator because you get that buddy that gives you double stats, and that's just tons of fun. A couple of heroes have had their armor changed. I don't like these because in this scenario, they're not telling us what's up and what's down. At least in the last week when they said these changes, it showed us which ones were going up and which ones were going down. This one, it just says Mukla has 10, Roame has 12 at higher rank lobbies and 10 at lower, and Aranna and Curator both now have 15 armor. Wow, in a vacuum, that just sounds like random numbers. I wish I had something to contrast it to say what it had a couple hours before. Instead, we just get to go, huh. I don't like this when they do this. Like, you have to tell us what it was before, otherwise it's not super useful, and it doesn't really matter. It's still, I mean, I'll probably try Aranna anyways. Curator, I still don't care about. Cariel, I'm still going to play because I still think she's good. The same with Mukla. So regardless what their armor is before, I'm still going to play them, but it would be nice to see the change just to know. Cogwork Copter going to change. Cogwork Copter was a 2/1 that buffs your minions in your hand for every time you lose a divine shield. It is basically the same effect. Now the only difference is it is a 1/1 instead of a 2/1. So it is a little harder to go, ooh, I'm going to get Cogwork in the early game. But if you're picking it up just because it looks like you're going max, you have a lot of divine shields, it's still not bad. This is not a card I was ever excited to buy. It's just good and the effect worked. Now as a 1/1, I'm definitely be a little hesitant in that initial pull unless I really want to go max. Scrap Scraper, the card that has defined the meta for the last couple of weeks, has been nerfed again. And this time, it's a big nerf, but I still think this card isn't bad. First of all, it goes from being a 3/7 at the end of your turn, get a random magnetic mech, to 4/7 at the end of every 2 turns, get a random magnetic mech. So it's still tier 4, still has the same stat lines, but you're getting half the magnetics out of it, which is a big deal, especially, you know, a lot of people were combining this with Kripparrian Chanter. So you're getting a lot less mechs. Still getting mechs. This card is still viable. The 4/7 stat line's not bad. It's still going to give you a good effect, just not nearly as much. So it's not going to be the instant win. You're not going to steamroll immediately. You might be able to actually give other people time to build up a board to fight you. But this can still win. This is still a very legitimate way to play the game. So Scrap Scraper, I still expect to see a bunch of, maybe half. Cyborg Drake got changed again. This poor card keeps getting nudged a little bit every time you look at it. Goes from being a 2/10, give your Divine Shield minions +8 attack, to being a 3/10, give your Divine Shield minions +6 attack. Still a good card, still pretty solid. Yes, it gives a little less attack, but +6 is still great. And now it's a 3/10 as opposed to a 2/10. So it's, when it loses its shield, it has a little bit more push, and it's still viable. I liked this card before, I like it now. It's not a big change to me. I'm still going to use this card. Prickly Piper got hit with a decent nerf. Same effect that whenever it dies, it gives Death Rattle +1 attack to your blood gems, but now it goes from a 5/2 to a 3/1. Now the health I don't care about, because my goal of this card is it to die. If it's on my board, I need it to die. I don't want it surviving with 1 health. I want it dead. I'd rather tie my opponent and have this die to get more win condition later than have it have it survive and do a couple extra points of damage. What hurts is the attack. Going down to 3 does hurt, but it's only a tier 3 minion, and it's still giving you a good long-term effect if you're going Quillbore. This just makes you not want to just snap it up for a random board you're using as much, because now it's just a 3/1. There's a lot of other tier 3 minions that you might want to go with your board instead of this, unless you're still thinking about playing Quillbores or blood gems in general. Bongo Bopper gonna nerf. Personally, I don't care about the nerf that much. If I wanted this card, I'm still going to use it. Bongo Bopper was a 6/5. He is now a 4/3, still tier 5. Still, at the end of the turn, get 2 blood gems to play and play 2 on this. Still a very viable card. Still good if you're going Quillbore. Nothing wrong with this change. It was a pretty, nasty card, because the moment you play it, it was going to get buffed by 2 blood gems. And if you buffed your blood gems at all, who cares? You're already still going to get a bunch of value on this thing. So if you like this card before, you still probably like it now. Hungry Snapjaw got a buff. Hungry Snapjaw was a 4/2. It is now a 5/2 with the same effect of +1 health permanently every time you summon a beast. So not insane change. Makes the card have a little more attack, a little more viable in the long term. Going to be really nasty in the first couple turns, especially if you're running like a Mana Saber or a Sewer Rat. This thing can get a lot of health real quick, and with 5 attack, it can chew through the enemy board pretty fast. So we might be seeing a lot more Hungry Snapjaws in the near future. Recycling Wraith got a buff/nerf. I'm going to call a solid buff, because having this on your board before you get an elemental win condition makes you a little bit more likely to want to play it. And hey, it is good for refreshes and whatnot, so you still might take this card at tier 3. True, there's a lot of tier 3 cards I like to have, so I don't know, but since there's tier 3, at the very least there's more of them, which means if you're trying to do a Nomi, if you have a Dazzling Barnstormer, you're more likely to find one of these because you need them anyways for elementals. So a Recycling Wraith going from a 5/4 tier 4 to a 4/2 tier 3 with the same effect is pretty good. Now, Bream Counter got a buff, and I don't know how I feel about this. Bream Counter was, in my opinion, already a good card, and now it's better. So it goes from being a 4/4 while in your hand after you play a Murloc, gain +3/+2, to now a 5/5 while this is in your hand and you play a Murloc, gain +3/+3. When I lost to this card, this thing was kicking out from your hand at like 100 or a lot more. So with the nerfs to mechs and them being less powerful, I feel like the stat gains to this make this to be one of the big cards to keep an eye on. This could be massive, and it could just come stomping through your boards really, really fast. Without mech players to rein in the Murlocs, Murlocs are now going to grow a lot in power. So keep an eye on Bream Counter and consider, maybe it won't flush out, but it was a good card before, and I think it just got a lot better. Eventide Brute picked up a buff. Nagas need it, we know that much, so hey, maybe this card in the mid game will help your Naga board survive, or it's just going to eat up a spot and it's going to get so big you don't want to get rid of it, which is more than likely what's going to happen. It goes from being a 3-2 tier 3 to a 4-3 tier 3. So nice stat line. If you have any spellcraft, it's growing instantly. Definitely Eventide Brute, you're going to be looking at and thinking about playing. You're not wrong. It's not a bad card, especially that early in the game with that stat line. Speaking of buffs to Naga, here is a good one. Athissa goes from being a 7-8. After you cast a spell, give 3 Nagas, friendly Nagas, +1/+1, to now being a 6-8. Oh no, 1 less attack. After you cast a spell, give 4 friendly Naga, +1/+1. That means now, instead of having a 3 Naga board, trying to keep it tight with Athissa, you can go 4. Is this the thing to make Naga win? I don't know. I feel like Naga are still the fact that they can't get enough spellcraft is a problem. Because if you're playing Naga, you can't really cycle in a Pashmer. You don't have enough cards to die on your board to give you the avenge value. And spellcraft cards, for the most part, you just want to cycle through with a couple exceptions, those, and all the stuff you want to keep is stuff that gains from having spellcraft on there. It basically means as a Naga player, we can have a little less discipline and fit 1 more Naga on the board if we are going to do an Athissa build. But then again, still trying to force Naga, which unless you hit deep blue, feels a little bad. We'll see. Maybe this is the change that makes the difference, but Athissa's still on tier 6. So that Eventide Brute buff's really going to have to carry us to make us get to tier 6 to get this card. Oh yeah, and Undead just got a buff too, so maybe the Naga players will still be dying before they get a chance, but Soul Splitter used to be tier 5, 5-2, is now tier 4, 4-2, same effect, start of combat, give a random friendly undead minion reborn. So there'll be more of these in the pool, which means undead players are going to be stronger and have better all overboard. So definitely keep an eye on undead now. Soul Splitter is a great marquee card you need at tier 5, and now that it's 4, means we're going to get it faster, and there's more of them. So keep an eye out for undead. They might be a lot stronger now too. Minion pool update. Banner Boar has been removed. I'm never too excited about this card, so I don't really mind seeing it go, but Patient Scout has been returned to the pool. Now, Patient Scout, I'm assuming, is still tier 2. Banner Boar is tier 3, so there is a little bit of an imbalance in that change, but I don't mind. I don't care. I love Patient Scout. One of my favorite ways to set up triples of tier 1s. It's one of my favorite ways to get economy value out of certain heroes. Patient Scout's amazing. This is a card that I don't really care about leaving and a card that I adore coming back to improve gameplay. These are great changes. I'm going to assume Patient Scout is still tier 2, but could be a 3, but we have no reason to think that. So it's just weird that they would take out a 3 and add a 2. That's not usually how they do things. Usually it's one and the same, but we'll see. That's the changes. What do you think? Are you excited about these changes to the meta? I feel like these are all, for the most part, super positive. There's a couple I look at and I go, that feels a little off, but maybe I'm not taking into account some of the other changes to balance them out. Maybe I'm just not thinking about them in the right context yet. I mean, I haven't gotten all the playtime testing that they've gotten with it, right? Folks, I love BGs. This is my mode. This is what I'm going to talk about. If you're having a good time, please hit the like, subscribe. Tell me what you think. Are these changes good for the game? Do you feel like this is going to put the meta in the right spot going into the quest meta in a few days? Or is there still going to be problems? Now that mechs are nerfed, are we going to see a massive resurgence in Beast? Is Banana Slamma going to instantly become king again? Will Rylax start causing problems again? These cards we know can still be problematic and they haven't been touched, and they're still sitting on the wings. Have they been overshadowed by how strong mechs have been, and they're still a problem? I'll catch you out in the battlegrounds. Thanks for watching. I hope you had a good time. See you later. Bye.